Praying one day Big Red will win the NIT.
Ham is the water of meats.
Ham the water of meats.
Ham is the water of meats.
No more need for bacon.
Ham is the water of meats. Ham is the water of meats.
I'm not sure who quoted it, but
Ham is the water of meats.
Ham the water of meats.
there is no me in Teddy, but there is no Teddy in Nebraska. I'm trying my best at Stibbs style humor.
Save it for predictions on Friday.
All right, fine. I'll save it for predictions on Friday. The very suddenly glum Jack Mitchell. I mean, the difference between Saturday night Jack Mitchell and Monday afternoon Jack Mitchell is quite frankly, there is not a palpable buzz I'm feeling right now coming from the upper right-hand corner of the screen I'm looking at right now.
You have personally seen this transition happen literally hundreds of times before in your life. So I don't know why it's the roller coaster of Nebraska basketball, minor highs, devastating lows. I mean, that's what whether it's a microcosm of a game, whether it's within a season, it's a roller coaster within a roller coaster of devastation that has become so banal you barely know that it's even happening anymore. It's just expected, I'm expecting my sadness. When is it coming? And
Jack, that's what you get for being so optimistic. You and the rest of Nebraska basketball fans are always so optimistic about everything.
I once flipped out on some people on Twitter. Look, there are things that you can critique this fan base for, and you can say Husker football fans are too optimistic. I even get that, but Nebraska basketball fans literally characterized by their fatalism. It's one of the dumbest takes I've ever heard. Stop.
They're fatalist, but come on. One win, and all of a sudden it's party on O Street. I mean,
it's the sarcasm of the whole thing. Do you not get it? Did the joke go over your head that much?
No. I'm not talking about you on Saturday night, but let's face it. We've seen it in the past. And listen, it's not a knock on Nebraska ball fans. In fact, it is part and parcel of fans everywhere. They are all like this. When things are going good, optimism is high. And believe it or not, there have been times within the last 3 years where things were looking pretty good.
For Nebraska basketball?
Yes.
I don't recall those. I missed those. Was I not around?
What happened 3 years ago when they almost made the tournament, but didn't because the Big Ten happened to suck that year?
Yeah, no, I was not full of optimism. Yes, John, when they win games, because it's so rare, we celebrate the moment.
It wasn't rare that year.
Enjoy the moment. We emote about the moment.
Stop acting like you have the market cornered on fatalism. You don't.
They do. Yes. No,
you don't.
The Cubs won the World Series. There is no more tortured fan base in all of American sports. I will die on that hill. You take the Buffalo Bills. You can take the Buffalo Sabres,
the Cleveland Indians, the Cardinals, the Bengals,
the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys.
I'm long suffering.
He is long suffering.
Yeah,
I've seen them win like 8 Super Bowls. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I wish I have. Jack, I wrote this question down before the Teddy Allen news, and I'm going to ask it, and just know that I'm not doing so in bad taste. How close are you to talking yourself into Nebraska ball having a good 2021-2022 season, because their performances as of late can certainly set up something like that?
The answer would have been, what the answer would have been, Josh? In all honesty, it was. Yeah. I've said it to you guys before. The only way that I will start to feel that way is if they have an offseason with very little personnel drama. Well, guess what happened? It didn't even take to the offseason.
Now, in fairness, were you expecting Teddy Allen back next year?
Not for sure. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know.
If you're missing him for the last 4 games, is it really that big a deal?
No. I mean, I wanted
to advocate here.
I didn't think it was a done deal either way. I mean, I didn't know. I thought there was certainly a potential. Of course, I thought there was I think there's a potential everyone will leave because they always leave. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was impossible, but I hoped he would stay. So, yeah, I mean, the 4 games are pretty much gravy. I mean, that's not what is disappointing about it. It's that he's not going to be, that he cannot or is not going to be a part of the plan going forward. And yet they invested in him like he was going to be, which isn't, it's disappointing. And then it's another year. Hopefully that's the end of the nonstop roster attrition. Guys, the crazy thing is the end of the years, the last 3 years have had roster attrition and injuries to the point 2 years ago in the Big Ten tournament, they had to play with 8 guys. Last year in the tournament, they had to bring in football players. And it's like every year, so much falls apart with the roster, some because of injuries, but it's frustrating. Now,
I brought up something in the last segment because this was a mutual parting of the ways. It wasn't, at least the way it came across was, yeah, both sides agreed this is the time to split. Looking at it from the Hoiberg/Nebraska side of things, is it possible that the parting of the ways happening now, again, with, probably 4 games left in the season, if we're talking about 1 in Indianapolis, that this is a way for Hoiberg to move ahead knowing that, hey, this is not going to be the team I'm moving with next year anyway. So ending it now has some kind of tangible benefit towards next year.
Yeah, maybe that the guys, and I don't know what chemistry was like. I don't know, Hoiberg sat him for a game. You don't see that very often, right? And we still don't know the full story behind that. But I guess perhaps, yeah, the guys who could be on the fence about coming back next year, now they'll maybe have a different definition of what their role is, knowing that he's not going to be there. I guess. I don't know. You just hope, okay, that's it. And hopefully that was an issue that was more likely to drive people away. And I'm talking about a handful of guys. I'm talking about McGowan's and his brother, most importantly. But, Walker, it sounds like he'll stay around. Banton, if they can figure out better how to use him. Even a Stevenson and just keeping a repeat core of this team, like 7-8 guys with experience around, to me is not it doesn't mean there will be success, but to me it's a necessary step to having some success.
Jack, serious question for you. What was your favorite part of the Teddy Allen experience at Nebraska? What was your least favorite part of the Teddy Allen experience at Nebraska?
I think
my favorite part was arguing on Twitter with people about it.
Oh,
was that your least favorite part too?
Probably. My least favorite part is how, my goodness, I normally think that I have kind of, a lot of soulmates in this fan base and understanding it, but like, I do not understand. I get it. He wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But how anyone's reaction after he scores 41 points, leads the team in rebounds, leads the team assists, leads the team in steals, and is perfect on free throws, that there's anyone out there that their first response is critiquing his game, especially from this fan base. Like, do you ever want nice things? Like, you want your good players to be this exact model, this exact style that you want, and it's ridiculous. Beggars can't be choosers. I was thrilled to have somebody that could score the ball. What's Nebraska's biggest problem then, guys? For the last decade under 3 coaches, monster scoring droughts, 8-minute scoring droughts. He was a scoring drought killer, and it was good to have that. So yeah, that was, the most fun part was knowing that you had somebody on your team for the first time since Petaway, it felt like, that was really going to go in and be could be a scoring threat in absolutely any situation and had the potential to be this scoring drought killer. I don't know. And my last favorite thing was, just that you've got a situation where he can be so divisive and not because of his own fault. I think part of it was some people extrapolating some things about his past and things they had heard about his attitude and just kind of his style and the way that he looks. And look, he may not be right in Fred Hoiberg's system. Okay. I think that's certainly a discussion to have. I still think they could have coexisted. I don't think they're completely incompatible. Otherwise, why did they even gamble on him in the first place?
Well, and then that leads me to the next question. Was it worth it? And when you look at, because we knew he had baggage. That there was no doubt about that. Yeah. And so the fact that he was this divisive person in the fan base does not surprise me in the least, because anytime you're trying to build something and you might bring in somebody who has a sketchy past it's going to be an arm wrestling match between different sides of the fan base. So I wasn't surprised by any of that. But now that we know what's happened here, was it worth it? Was it worth it to take this chance on a guy who could score and will end up being in your record book for a couple of different things? But at the end of the day, it didn't work out, and it ends after less than a full season.
No, the answer is no. It wasn't. It wasn't. That's not. And I'm obviously a huge Teddy defender. So, yeah, but what did you get out of it? You got another roster turnover issue at the end of a regular season, and a completely tumultuous end of a regular season. Again, they've got to stop that cycle. They've got to stop that cycle. And I don't know. Yes, you had a 41-point game. That was great. That was fun. He probably got them. One of the wins that they got this year, they probably don't get without him. But is that? I mean, that's what you got. If that's all you got for that whole process, and then having to start over again there, no, it wasn't worth it.
What if this is the end of the roster turnover?
That's what I was going to say.
Then does that change your viewpoint? Because it's possible that this is the end, that there is no other roster turnover.
Maybe, but I mean, you could have had someone else in his spot, right? I mean, developing that investment into the program and coming in next year. So no, it's still, that doesn't make it worth it. I hope that's the case, and I wonder if his leaving might make that more likely. Like I said, I don't know for sure about the locker room. I'm not sure, but if you can bring back, get a point guard, first of all, get a true point guard on the transfer market, and then bring back Banton and bring back obviously your big guys who are there right now. And then the McGowan's brothers. It'll be as good as you've had going into a season as when you had James Palmer and Copeland and Roby. I mean, not saying that you feel like they're a tournament team, but it's the first time you've had any continuity.
Yeah, it's funny, too, because I was just going to push back against you a little bit, Jack, and say, about the continuity and about him specifically. And sure enough, I found a story of when he committed. He did have 2 years of eligibility from the jump. So even getting the extra year back from the pandemic, I guess in theory, he would have had 3 years left to play. Yeah. So I think it's a good question that John asked, and a lot of people will be asking it today. Because I think you're right. I think you're right that in the end, it wasn't worth it. Certainly the team didn't have a whole lot of success to write home about. His individual success was really fun at times, but he was such a divisive player. And as we've mentioned many, many times, if this is year 5 and the program is really rolling, do they take a chance on a player like this? My guess would be no. And I'm guessing a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah, maybe. But again, I believe some of the fact that he was a divisive player is because fans were idiots.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He obviously did something to get on Fred's bad side at least once to be sitting on the bench on that whole game. And I don't know about the last 2 games. So it could have been that he was difficult behind the scenes, but I don't know that for sure. And I think you guys talked about it last segment. It wasn't like you watched the games. You've seen people with bad attitude on the court before, right? Did you guys ever? Did you see that ever from him? Did you ever oh man, that guy does not have good chemistry with his teammates? I didn't ever see that.
If you just dropped in and had no prior knowledge of what it was you were watching, other than you knew what basketball was,
great way to put it,
you would not have had any indication that there was a bad seed on this team, or if there was, it was wearing number 0. Now, you would have probably developed over time, because we know, he has a temper, and he would get warned, and he got teed up a couple of times that, okay, well, this guy plays with his heart on his sleeve. But if you didn't have any prior knowledge of the background and his other issues, off the court issues, I don't think you would have looked at this and saying, well, outside of wearing his heart on his sleeve, he's not a guy that, seems to be disruptive in the public sense of what basketball is.
Right. I didn't hear him say things, and when he talked to the
he
press,
said all the right things after he scored 41.
Right. I guess I didn't. There was so much of that was imputed onto him. I thought it was a little bit unfair, at least from what I was able to tell. And again, maybe we'll hear stories in the next few weeks that behind the scenes it was an absolute mess. But that's why it's a little frustrating. And I'll be honest, guys, there was just this kind of sentimental part of me that really liked the idea of a Nebraska kid that Nebraska didn't get, and has been so frustrating to lose Nebraska kids to other, Hunter Sallis is going to go out there and play tonight in Omaha, and he's not coming to Nebraska. I was frustrated when he didn't come. I loved the storyline of a Nebraska kid. I mean, originally Arizona, but a Boys Town kid, coming back to Nebraska after not going there first, having kind of a troubled past and having some level of redemption at his home state school. And I wanted him to be there for it. And so I think that's part of why I was a fan of this as well. But that's not happening. I think that might be the biggest disappointing thing to me out of this whole thing.
No, that's a good way to put it, Jack, because I remember when he committed, and then, there were a few nice, long profiles on him, including one by Chris Heddy. And, you read about him, and it's obvious that he had his issues growing up. But I did think that he had a likable part of his personality, and the Nebraska component, being a Nebraska kid and so many of them going to Creighton or leaving the state and having success elsewhere, like that was really cool. Plus, I like him from like an underdog perspective, right? Where, horrible looking jump shot, has like no hops, and yet he still finds a way to score 41 in a basketball game. I found that, because now more than ever, I think in basketball, it is very, the fundamentals have gotten to a really good point. And so it's kind of fun and interesting and unique when you see a player like him who does it in just a completely different way than everybody else.
Yeah, he had you're right. Had he stayed and had he, come into the Big Ten next year, he would have had a lot of just talk about what a unique high scorer he is. He would have got a lot of kind of attention, which, would have been nice for the program as well. But that's really my frustration. And then, guys, it's just like Wan'Dale Robinson's gone, Luke McCaffrey's gone, J.D. Spielman's gone. Basketball players every year are gone. And I don't know if that's, and maybe I'm just not paying close enough attention, and maybe it is the transfer culture now, but it seems like Nebraska athletics has gotten hit by this worse in the offseason than anyone else. Maybe that's not true. That may be just me feeling sorry.
Yeah. Well, the answer is always yes. You're feeling sorry for yourself. But the other is that if it would be different if Nebraska were winning and still losing these types of players. I guarantee you. It is the transfer culture. Alabama loses, really good players every year, and other programs lose really good players every year. But the difference is they have a whole bunch of really good players, and they're still winning. Yeah. You feel different about things when the team is winning, because then you can immediately say, well, they couldn't fit in here because they didn't fit in with the winning. But when you see good players who leave and obviously helped, and the team has been losing, you feel like you've lost a little more because it's the one or two good things that you had.
Yeah. Guys, we go back to this topic a lot, kids my son's age and being a fan. But I'll tell you what, my son's favorite football player was Wan'Dale Robinson going into the season. He loved J.D. Spielman last year. He tweeted, you might have seen it, he tweeted he thinks Teddy Allen could be Nebraska's greatest ever scorer. He loved Teddy Allen. He's lost a favorite player on Nebraska athletics in 3 straight years. That our favorite players didn't lead. It's just another challenge. I think now it's frustrating that it just happens every dang season.
Well, we appreciate you coming on such a difficult day, but also we appreciate you coming on despite the fact that somebody who shall not be named is stealing your bits, continuously stealing your bits. Did you hear the latest?
This is disgusting.
He's going to walk across Omaha.
On Sunday, he guaranteed no more snow.
And then he's going to walk across Omaha.
Whatever.
And then,
this is disgusting. I've been doing the snow is done, rightfully predicting the snow is done now for years.
You haven't been right about one yet.
Then maybe I am stealing Jack's bit.
He's got a point.
Why are we not allowed to say things? Like, I can't say
you
words
are allowed
because
to
somebody
say
else
things,
said words one time.
But when
Kevin
the things
Kugler
that you
once said
say,
words.
but when the things you say lead to the opposite, and the opposite hurts us all.
I'm not trying to hurt you.
It's sort of like, here, let me give you an example. It's sort of like if you did an interview and there was a really funny drop that came out of it, and then a podcast decided to play it over and over again, claim it as theirs, and then make a T-shirt out of it. That's kind of how you would feel.
Has that ever happened to you?
I don't think it's ever
just a random kind of out of the cloud analogy.
We should make a shirt of Greg Sharp saying 7 or 9.
We should have done that 4 years or 5 years ago or whenever it happened.
Well, that was 7 years ago.
It was.
But it really, it was 2014. So
6 years
This
ago.
is the 7th year.
Oh, we have to have
Anniversary.
a party. We have to have a party.
Oh, so maybe this idea would work.
All right, let's make shirts.
You know who alerted me to that?
To what?
Jack. He's the one that told me that, hey, you got to hear this out. You got to hear this out. And now it's turned into some of our favorite.
It's just I dole out assists to the radio world of in the podcast world of the entire state, and I don't ask for any credit. Just I'm like a good point guard.
Have you made any weather guarantees lately?
No, mine will come up, later, like it always does, and has for the last decade. We'll just let yours get done with, and so
all right.
we can
Yeah,
move
just
on.
wait till Josh is wrong and then do yours.
Wrong. It's going to be in the 60s all week long. I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good, folks.
I mean, that's the exact bit that I always do.
As
but
Skip says,
Oh, here we go.
it's
That's
never
not my bit!
it's never snowed in April before.
It hasn't. Remind me of one April
until last
snow.
year.
Mm.
I seem to remember a
That
few
was the
pandemic shows where we were stuck in the snow.
That's because of the pandemic caused the snow. We're not in a Oh, wait.
Josh just said it. We're not in a pandemic
I'm not
anymore.
predicting the end of that.
Pandemic is over.
I'm not saying that.
Guaranteed.
All right. Well,
Hey, shout out. I'm wearing my Lincoln East Spartans hat. Either Lincoln or Pies is going to be the only Lincoln team in Class A after tonight. So
Yeah, Migos Bowl, right? Or something like
yeah.
that?
Listen, hopefully you got one Lincoln team that can do something against the Omaha dominance that we're going to see over the next couple of weeks.
it is
Very
crazy that Omaha has turned the state tournament into like if it was a battle of
Like
restaurants,
a Metro Invitational.
like a battle of restaurants. Lincoln versus Omaha. It's so one sided.
You live in Lincoln. Jeez.
I know.
You're the worst. Yeah, I don't even. Are there? You probably don't. I should have looked this up. If there are any besides that game, if there are any non-Omaha teams left, there might be. So, Grand Island got beat by Gretna, so I mean, they're running
It's the
out.
Omaha Invitational.
Northeast got beat by Millard South in an upset. So yeah, it's
the Omaha Invitational.
the Omaha Invitational plus one team from East Lincoln. One of two.
Which many people have called the Omaha of Lincoln.
Have they?
Yeah.
No one's ever called it that.
Hi, Johnny.
Johnny!
Hey, look, it's Johnny, everybody.
Hey!
Sorry about Teddy Allen.
Oh.
If you need a new favorite player,
Here we go. Here we go.
Ty Washington coming next year to a basketball court near you. Yeah, I know you're confused because he could play point guard. Nebraska hasn't had one of those in a while. All right, well,
He is wearing blue.
He is wearing blue. See, blue. It all.
He's
fit.
going to baseball tryouts. Wish him good luck.
Oh, good luck, Johnny.
nice.
Hey!
What
Swing away.
What position?
Outfield, left field. I don't know. Maybe the bench. We'll see.
Wow, tough look for Johnny. Roasted.
Ooh, that's not.
Roasted.
Come on.
Well, at least he'd make the team.
Have a little more support.
Maybe.
Rover. I'm going to play Rover. They don't have that
Center.
position. They don't have that position. All right. We will talk to you next week.
Bye, Jack.
Bye,
All
Johnny.
right.
See you on Twitter.
Screaming at us in all caps.
All right, speaking of the weather, I think it's time to debut a new segment.
What kind of cursed damnation are we going to
Cursed-
get next?
Cursed damnation. None.
As
Damnation.
Troy says, Nostradamus.
No. How are you enjoying the above zero temperatures, friends? Are you enjoying
It's
it?
not because of you.
Oh, it's not. Okay, so
No.
when the bad thing happens, it is my fault.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. But when the good thing happens,
Yes.
it's not my fault.
Welcome to politics, Josh.
Well,
Yep.
Also, really interesting question here from Cartwright about Teddy Allen that I want to get to later, too.
All right. We'll do that next on 1620 The Zone.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis. The snow is done, which means you need to play some golf, but there is still snow on the grass right now. Had a chance to talk to somebody this weekend, and he was telling me, you know what? I love going to the Top Tracer building at Miracle Hill. I said, do you? And he said, yes, my friend and I, we just went last week. It is absolutely awesome. I could not agree more. You can hone in on your skills with the Top Tracer building. You can also do a ton of other stuff as well, whether it is playing virtual courses from around the entire world, figuring out that driving distance, whatever it is, you can do all of that inside of the Top Tracer building. And yes, the snow is done. It's going to be in the 60s this week, so eventually the snow will be melted on the course. Give them a call today at 402-498-0220. Set up your virtual tee times, set up your regular tee times, whatever it is. They accept walk-ins as well. Friends, it's going to be a great year. We're all going to have a lot of fun playing golf. They're located just north of Dodge on 120th Street, Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis.